Mohamed, you devote an entire page on your website to your polling and study of the military in America. Does the military, the sailors, the soldiers, the junior officers, do they have these generals and Admiral Mullen's back?
Well, one thing I can report on for sure is that the public has the military's back. Among all the institutions we've polled about in the United States over generations, the military has always rated the highest and consistently the highest. This is true even during the very dark years of the Iraq war policy, where the Iraq war itself went from being very positive from a public opinion perspective to really negative. Perceptions of the military have really endured. So if there's one institution that has a lot of public support in this country, it is definitely the military. And we're at a time when a lot of public institutions are really lacking public support.
Your organization began 3 years after MacArthur, Eisenhower, and Patton quelled riots in Washington when they moved out the bonus boys, the World War I veterans starving and asking for support. That was a long time ago. What does the military look like now? Is the great misconception here of the president is he doesn't understand the makeup of the American military?
Well, I mean, aside from polling, one of the things that has changed about the military dramatically since then is how it operates and how it's made up. Obviously, the major threat to most Western civilization developed economies lately has been terrorism, and a lot of forces are re-gearing towards that. So I think on this issue just of race relations generally, though, President Trump has 64% disapproval in how he's handling race relations in America. It's sort of the inverse of how Americans rate his handling of the economy, which is at 58%. And this all, of course, happens, Tom and Francine, within the backdrop of a relative low in Americans' perceptions of race relations in this country. In 2001, 70% of Black Americans said that the current rate of race relations were either very good or somewhat good. That went from 70% down to 40% in 2020. 80% of Black respondents in the United States across the country are dissatisfied with the way Blacks are treated in the United States. Most Americans, 54%, actually share that dissatisfaction. 66% of Americans are concerned a great deal or a fair amount with the state of race relations in the United States. So this is all unfolding before a backdrop of really a relative low in perceptions of race relations in the United States. Obviously, there was a really big high immediately after the election of President Obama. But there's also sort of more than one America when it comes to this issue. And one of the things that we've been doing for the past 2 years is really tracking what's happening within fragile communities, low income, low education, low well-being communities across 47 states in the United States based on census data. And this is what we found. Blacks within those communities, 59% of them say that they know some or a lot of people who have been treated unfairly by the police, 59% of Blacks versus only 31% of whites within those same at-risk low-income communities. 50% of Blacks say they know some or a lot of people who have been unfairly sent to jail. Only 17% of their white neighbors within those communities have that same view. 56% of Blacks say that people within their community have a negative view of the police. So this is really there's a national story unfolding with race relations, but there's a very acute issue unfolding within these communities. And a lot of the realities of those communities are often missed by nationally representative studies and data. And that's why we've been really trying to track both and will continue as this unfolds.
Mohamed, has this gotten worse in the last couple of years? Is there any data to show how, what was felt 2 or 3 years ago?
Yes, it certainly has gotten worse. Really, since 2015, we've seen a consistent decline. Of course, 2017 was a real flashpoint here in the United States with the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia. We did see a decline after that as well. But relatively speaking, when you compare it to the past 20 years, things are looking a lot worse now than they did about 2001, 2002.